Hi, good morning, love. We're live and we're
Good morning,
back
sir.
this week
Yeah,
for our daily podcast. Okay, so we started this initiative last week and we got some good traction. People are definitely, you know, telling us that it has been meaningful and that we have been able to impart some good knowledge, right?
yeah.
So, what are we discussing today?
So today is again very interesting topic that we have for today specifically for people who are from the armed forces. So since you have transitioned yourself, from the armed forces to cyber security and information security. So similarly, sir, how can somebody who is actually working in the armed forces can transition into information security? Is the basic agenda for today's event.
Oh, right. That's great. That's great because
Yeah,
it has, there are certain insights which I can give
yeah,
and can help a lot of transitioning, manpower from the armed forces to the InfoSec and GRC careers.
yeah.
Okay. Why I say InfoSec and GRC careers is a good, career transition point for, you know for getting into infosec and grc is there certain reasons and causes why we can have, and if you see today in the information security and the grc sectors, a lot of veterans are now getting absorbed. If you look at uh, most of the top companies, CISOs are ex are retired armed forces personnel. Okay, and I personally know a lot of them who are tenanting some very top appointments in most of the organizations. So, what are the factors we'll discuss today?
So
Yeah,
today,
love will.
basically,
Yeah.
yeah, basically we'll start from the beginning, sir.
Okay.
For example, when do people retire nowadays? What is the because I think there's the early retirement now, and
Yes.
how can they pre-prepare themselves before the retirement or maybe after the retirement? How can they be ready for this industry? Okay, that is the first question which I would say.
Right. So, love, there was a time when, armed forces people used to retire after 20 years. They used to retire after 30, 35 years of, their employment periods. And then they used to get pensions and then they used to stop working. Okay. That was an era. Then you also have an option to come out early from the armed forces at 20 years, at 15 years, depending upon whether you're an officer or a middle rank officer or a lower rank officer. Okay, so depending on that, you used to come out after a pensionable service, which is not the case these days. So because of growth in economy, expenses, so government has introduced many techniques by which people can serve the armed forces also and come out well prepared, well trained into the civil world. Now, once you work for armed forces, it's a unique place. The only problem with armed forces, I will not say it's a problem. Armed forces has its own way of working, own, uh, I will say, terminologies, okay, which
Or
do not
can I say,
probably.
protocol, sir?
Protocol wise, yeah, protocols also.
Yeah,
There are
yeah,
very strict
protocol.
protocols. And at the
Yeah.
same time, the language, okay. If you look at the language, okay, outside it might mean collateral. Can you give me collateral? Now, I will never understand what does a collateral mean. Whereas collateral for us means, something which you safeguard for a negotiation. Whereas outside, collateral means a small publication about what you are doing. So there's a language difference completely outside and inside, right? So there's a cultural shift. So what happens is armed forces personnel initially find it very difficult to communicate, okay, and that's why they have to observe, orient, decide, and act. UDA, okay. So we call it UDA, okay. So we should observe first that what is that is happening, orient yourselves, decide what needs to be done, and then act what needs to be done. Now, why armed forces people are suited for information security and GRC roles, I'll tell you in a very short and easily understandable manner. See, armed forces started its information security program right from the day armed forces were born. Why? Because
Okay.
we were in an organization which enemy will like to intrude and get information. It's as simple as that. So if enemy would like to intrude and get information, you created policies, procedures, guidelines, training and awareness, and implementation. That was very, very rigid in the armed forces. And second thing is someone was doing a risk assessment at all times, right? Somebody was observing, okay, what is the risk from social media? What is the risk from, you know, normal media? What is the risk, physical risk? What are the technological risks? So it is not that we were not evaluating it. So armed forces has always been having an oversight on protecting information, and very rigid policies, procedures are implemented in the armed forces, and there is a very strict way of revisiting and continuously monitoring and improving this particular process, right? The only difference between what happens in the armed forces and what happens in the corporate is use of technical means to manage risk, right? Outside you have fancy tools like GRC Archer, GRC, what do you call it, the SAP GRC tool, and there are a lot of tools available, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
ultimately what they do is they document your process,
yeah. Simple. And
right?
one more thing, sir. And one more thing. If your process is faulty, if your process is not right, the tools will not be helpful. That's as simple
Yeah,
as that.
tool
Yeah.
tool is just tool is always helping you.
Yes.
If you do
Yes.
not know how to hit the hammer on a nail, no
Yes.
matter you might have the best of the hammer and the best of the
Yeah.
nail, you will
Yeah.
never be able to achieve your task, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
tool only facilitates your process. So unless there is a process, unless you know how to identify the risk, what are the risks, what is the product, what is it that you are trying to protect, who is responsible, who is accountable, how to continuously monitor, how to revisit, how to audit, and how to close the risk, you will never be able to. You can buy the best of tool, but you will never have a process around it. So it is very important that you create a process first, and it is not applicable to armed forces. It is applicable to everyone. That unless you create a process, you cannot automate it. Therefore, what is GRC? GRC is creating that process, right? Now, why armed forces? It is suitable for armed forces. We know how to craft policies. We have been crafting policies from the day we were born, okay, in the armed forces. So you understand what is a policy and how to implement it. What does it take to form a policy, and what does it take to implement a policy, right? The only thing that would probably required for armed forces is to orient them towards the skill for the GRC, which where we come in, right? We understand what is the industry needs and what is the technical skills or organizational skills which armed forces personnel possess, okay? And that's where me and you join hands. I am from the armed forces background. I understand their skill set, and you also and uh, come in and discuss the skill set, right? Uh, so what happens is in armed forces we are continuously evaluating the threats and vulnerabilities. Okay, and then we craft policies, procedures, guidelines. We train people very rigorously. We have a quarterly audit, and we know what is the audit structure, what is the annual audit. So that's why I feel that armed forces personnel from all sectors, and especially from the technical groups and services and arms, or what is it called in the armed forces language, okay, arms and services, have actually a good pathway to in the information and GRC
Yeah.
careers.
Now, sir, can I say that all these things, like, like you mentioned, governance is a major aspect over here in terms of armed forces, because from the day one they know the importance of governance, and I think it's ingrained in the culture. What do you say about that?
Yes, yes. So organizational culture is very strong in the armed forces, and
Yes.
that's why
Yes.
how to govern, how to drive an organization, what is it that is required to achieve the organizational aim, the business objective, is very, very well ingrained into the armed forces community. And it's not about only India, everywhere, everywhere. All armed forces runs on the same ethics of protecting the national interest. If you're protecting the national interest, you very well know that the organizational aim is one of the most important part to achieve.
Yeah, sir. So, what are the types of roles when we talk about armed forces in terms of GRC? Are there any specific positions or are there specific roles that we have, like like
So
colonels
what
and
I
majors?
feel, good question, Love. So if you look at the armed forces community, there are three kinds of people, and the three eight sectors from where people will come and come to the outside world. Okay, first would be now the Agniveers, who are the men who are coming up, working for 4 years and then coming out. So that will be a potent trained force. Okay. Second will be someone who is taking a retirement, who has short service. Short service is roughly around 10 to 12 years. So somebody who's coming after 10 to 12 years, right? Then third are the people who are voluntarily coming out of the armed forces at around 20 years of experience set. And finally are the people who are coming out after the full service. Their age will be somewhere between 55 to 60. Okay, so these are the four broad age sectors from where people will be coming. So I'll start with Agniveers first. So Agniveers will be a very potent, I will say, for analyst roles. They will come out well trained, well disciplined, okay, and with the right attitude and skill set. They may not have the complete skill set, so you might give them an initial training and observe and absorb them into information security analyst roles. Okay, maybe level one or level two roles, right? Then comes the short service, personnel. Short service personnel will come out at around 10, 12, 14 years of experience. And these are the guys who are suitable for mid manager and senior manager roles for information security, right? Then you have people coming out at 20 years, 22 years. Now, these are the people who are suitable for associate director and director level roles, right? And finally are the people who are coming out at 55, 58. Now industry is not very welcoming to these people, to be frank. Okay, but notwithstanding that, if you're technically skilled up, you can target senior roles, maybe deputy CISO, deputy CIO, okay, and senior director, AVP, VP level roles. Okay, so though chances of getting a placement at those high levels goes down with age being a factor, nonetheless, if you skill up properly, there are very great chances that you will land up with a good role.
Definitely, definitely, sir. So now, in terms of let's say now somebody is coming out from their tenure being completed in the armed forces, how can we as Protect Academy, how can we help them support their career towards going towards information security and GRC? Because I think we somebody needs to hold them right for initial period. Definitely they're ready for the job, but I think some fine tuning has to be there, right?
So, love, I don't pitch my courses to armed forces people. Unless you are interested, I will guide them. But I don't pitch my courses, right?
Okay,
You
okay,
understand that in the business you have to pitch your ideations, right? I
right,
do
right,
not pitch it to armed forces because of two particular reasons. Mainly because not everybody understands that it is beneficial for them or not. Okay, and it may not be. It may not be that it is. Information security and GRC may not be your cup of tea. Okay, but there are many people who have got some good educational backgrounds and may not be working in technical roles. Like yesterday someone who pinged me and said, I'm a MSc in mathematics, I have a great interest towards cybersecurity and information security roles, but I was in logistics division. Okay, now this is where the education set is there, the mindset is there, but they have worked in the logistics, but however, even if you are working in a logistics unit, you have implemented GRC. It's just that you are not aware that you have implemented GRC in your vertical, right? So for implementing GRC, you do not need to be a tech person completely, right? You need to understand the threats, you need to understand your vulnerabilities, and you need to ensure that proper policies, procedures, and guidelines are in place with the overall organizational policy which you have been able to implement, right? So I will say that somebody who has inclination, somebody who has certain amount of background in policy formulation, policy implementation, overseeing a policy in a unit or in a vertical, right? And how to comply to the given rules. If you have the mindset to carry out that kind of a role, then you have been involved in internal and external audits, which is very common in the armed forces. Okay, so if you have done that, uh, So there are three classes of people in our armed forces. One is the officers, of course. Officers are generally more of supervisory roles, so they can come in at associate director, director level roles, senior manager roles. Then there are middle ranked officers. We call JCOs in the army, JWOs in the air force, and petty officers in the navy. So they are the middle rank officers who can come out and get into middle level management roles in the outside world. And then of course we have the workforce, who are the technicians, who go on ground, run the tools, secure the network, and they can get into level 1, level 2, level 3 cyber security and information security management roles, right? So they have the skill set. They have to orient. Now how we help is we tell them, look, these are the suitable certifications which you can do depending upon their interest, their skill set, which arm or service they belong to. And of course, with you being there, you get the industry perspective and make them understand the complete process of GRC. And I understand, love, that in your course there are a lot of freshers also, there are a lot of senior guys also, there are a lot of middle
Yes,
guys
yes,
also. Why? Because
yes,
GRC right now is I'll say unexplored territory,
yes. Yeah,
right? And till now, people were taking GRC as something very, not wanted kind of a thing. But suddenly, post COVID, people have understood that the enterprise risk, somewhere down the line, information security risk is today a major risk to the enterprise,
definitely. Definitely.
right?
I have
Because
I have said I have five people from HR, and I have five people from finance, and I have two people who are actually for last 12 years they were into stock exchange and all. So I have this diverse background in my classes for GRC.
yeah, so that's what even I have in my present CISS batch a guy from UK who's completely been a policy guy and never understood. He's been a technologist but never looked into GRC. But now today he says it's become so important because everybody is pushing organizations that you have to be compliant, and there are not very many people who understand the risks and want to know how to navigate that, right? At the same time, people confuse information security with cybersecurity. Now, cybersecurity is more specific to how to protect your endpoint, how to protect your network, how to protect your identity and access management, how to secure the software. That's pure cybersecurity stuff, right? And uh, those are more technical hands-on roles. But information security is a management process. It's a management role. It manages the risk to people. How you have certain controls to manage people risk. Like one of the simplest, I will tell you, armed forces banned social media. Nobody can share any information on social media. Now that's something which now organizations are implementing. Armed forces banned it, straight cut, that you will not post any information on social media. If we find social media on your
Anything,
phones,
anything.
yeah, if you find social media on your phones, we will we will take disciplinary action against you, as high as checking you out of the armed forces.
Oh my
That's a
God!
huge punishment. And
Wow.
today, the corporate world is saying, no, 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 no social media in the office. We will blacklist. We on your device there should not be any social media. So that means armed forces had an oversight that it's a huge place for information leakage, right?
Yes, yes,
Second thing
yes.
is, by being on social media, you can get profiled. You will get profiled, and the moment you get profiled, then you can get spoofed.
Yes, very easy.
Very easy, right? I can go on social media and watch what is your birth date, and I know you will use your birth date on your passwords, right?
99% of the people.
99 of those people will have their name, first five letters of their name or four letters of their name, and their birth date as their password. To
That's it. You
increase
are
the
done.
complexity,
Yeah,
to increase the
yeah,
complexity, what are the most easiest keyboard stuff which is difficult? It will be either at the rate, it will be either
yeah.
hash, or it will be either a dollar sign.
That's it. That's it. Or
That's
exclamation.
it.
That's it. That's it.
Or
That's it.
exclamation,
Yeah,
right? So see, it's so easy from your own behavior to understand somebody else's behavior, because human beings are lazy beings, right? They want to do it things easier way. So
yeah,
it's so easy to hack you. I
yeah,
don't need some great technology to hack you. I just need to observe you to hack you, isn't it?
yeah.
How do I hack my neighbor's Wi-Fi?
You really
So,
do that?
so the Geo guy comes and says, "Sir, this is your default password." I said, "Fine." I try the default password on everybody's wireless,
And it would work. It would work.
and out of 10 people, 3 people logged in,
Yeah, yeah,
and
it
then
would
I
work.
ran,
It would work. Yeah,
and then I can run a Wireshark and read every damn thing.
yeah, yeah,
So, do I
definitely.
need some very great technology? So, see, what I'm saying is information cybersecurity is common sense. If you can understand common sense risk in information and cybersecurity, you will be successful.
Thank
Yeah,
you, sir.
having technology at your
Yeah,
background, it's definitely a force multiplier. So when I go as an information security professional, I carry some more bandwidth because yes, I have been involved. I was in
yeah,
core of signals, and uh, I've worked hands on with a lot of communication equipment, a lot of security equipment, and implemented a lot of control. So that's how I definitely have that edge, I will say, where I have worked in cybersecurity and now graduated in information security. I understand software risk, how coding. I myself used to code. I myself built hardware. So it was that inherent skill, and that's helped. I'll say. But not everyone can have that skill. We all are coming from different. I don't know how to, you know, how logistics. I am not a logistics expert. There are people who are very good at logistics, and they are doing wonders in companies like Maersk and other supply chain companies. So, but they will be very very sharp in understanding supply chain risks. What are the supply chain block holes or
right,
loopholes?
right, right, right,
So it's a combination. It's a collaborative work, and it requires that proactive thinking and looking at risk in the organization. And that's why I feel a lot of armed forces community has been exposed to uh, you know to information security, and that's why this is the part. Mujahid says a lot of tech guys find it difficult to work with dogs, and
yeah.
that's true.
Because he does, and he told me also previously in my batch. He said, I'm
Yeah,
not good at dogs." Yeah,
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 it's true. The tech guys are okay. The moment you ask them to do documentation, how the risk is related, who will close the roads, or they will say, "Oh, this is not my job."
yeah, yeah. And he was very passive. He used to skip the classes also. I remember him. Yeah,
So that's true. That's true because
yeah.
all your life you were working on command line, and somebody is suddenly telling you to work on Excel sheets, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Create a process.
Yeah.
Okay,
Create a
you were till
policy.
now,
Create a
yeah,
policy.
create a
Yeah.
policy. You will create a technical policy that everybody will change, have their password at 15, characters. The company will shout at you, 15 characters. Who can remember the password?
Yeah, yeah. Right. So we understand your pain, Mujahid. Okay, just stay there and slowly progress. That's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, true.
Uh, so, so what were the challenges for you when you started your journey? Definitely, because see, I completely understand that the entire framework of GRC is being ingrained into the armed forces, but there is a very quick delivery passion also in people in the armed forces. They can't wait. They have to be quickly responding, and the
That's
action
that
the
that
action
lies in the culture. Yeah, that
yeah.
lies in the culture because
So how do
we
you stop it from happening in the environment nowadays? Because it's in the professional side of things, sometimes we have to wait a lot.
Yeah, so I also learned it the hard way. So when I came out of the armed forces, went on a consulting role with a UK firm, okay, which was based out of Switzerland. Now, when I went, probably the work I did for them in 2 years, I could have finished it off in like 3 weeks, to be frank. Okay. It took them 2 years, 2 sweet years, because they will work only for 6 hours or 8 hours, and then there'll be calls, and you'll have to wait for that 1 hour call to take a decision for next 7 days. Okay. So then I realized, okay, this is how it works. So let it work like that way. So we're in the armed forces, we have to execute now because somebody is waiting for the next process. But it may not be the case in the outside world, because outside world works in a different manner. It works on the amount of revenue needs to be generated, from where the funding will come, from where profit and loss and other things, right? But in the armed forces is the life. Okay, if your food does not reach the troops who are stationed on the top of a mountain, that those guys will die. So the food has to reach no matter what, whether it's raining or it's a storm. It has to reach. It has to reach. If the network has to reach the battlefield, it has to reach. you don't have an excuse. You have to lay the fiber, you have to lay the communication elements so that it reaches. It's as simple as that. So yes, we have a go-getter attitude, which initially I will say you have to curb and observe. How there are organizations who have very set processes. They might be slow, but they are time proven. So you have to go and settle down with that process. That's what I feel. And we have
So
to shed
patience is
and
a virtue.
unlearn. You have to
Yeah,
shed and unlearn a lot of quick thing which we
yeah.
do in our armed forces. We act fast because that's our training, that we have to reach on time everywhere all the time. So what we have to shed that, and we have to understand organizational processes.
So patience is a virtue. That's the first thing you would like to
Yes.
give out. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, definitely. Okay, sir. Uh, in any of the, I think it has been, I think 3 4 years till now, sir, since you actually started
Yeah,
this
almost.
journey.
Yeah, upwards. It's almost 3 years now.
Yeah. What is the one skill that actually helped you a lot in this complete transition, and which you actually think like somebody who is watching this from armed forces should actually try to cultivate more of? What is that one skill?
So skill. I will say, I was inclined towards information and cybersecurity. Cybersecurity specifically, I did a lot of projects, so that was my own interest. But when I said that, okay, if I want to go outside, right, I should do an MBA. So that was my first, trigger. I should do an MBA. Then I researched. When I researched, I said MBA is of no use to me. Okay, so I could make that decision. So then I said, ki, what would be a good role which can capture my technical side and capture my management side, and portray me as a good professional in particular. Then I said the only place where I can do wonders is telecom. Okay, but telecom is a space which was stagnant. So I said, too many people in telecom, stagnant, so you need to understand the gap. So I said, look, cybersecurity I've been doing for last 20 years, information security we have been doing, but I cannot prove to the outside world that I understand information and cybersecurity. Well, cybersecurity I can still make you understand because I was hands on a lot of technologies. Information security I could not prove. So I then research. At that time, ISO 27001 and things were not so talked about. I'm talking about 2016, 17, right? So that was the first time I came across a gold standard certification called CISSP. Okay, this is around 2015. I came to know about CISSP. So I said, fine, this is supposed to be the gold standard in the world. And at that time, I researched. India had only 800 or 900 CISSPs at that point in time. So I said, okay, let me take on this call. So once I started, I found it to be very difficult, to be frank. I said, that's huge amount of information to comprehend for someone. Okay. And then I understood that this exam is a kind of you know AI managed exam. This happened in 2018. So it is an adaptive exam, and you have to prepare. There are no shortcuts available. So I prepared for this exam real hard. And once I prepared that for the exam real hard, I said, "Oh, we've been doing all this in armed forces for last 20 years I was in." I said, "I've been doing all this, the complete 8 domains I've been doing." So it actually fits my complete experience set. Maybe few parts were technical out of, I'll say, out of 100% preparation, I'll say 30% of CISSP has got some technical, tone. 70% is management tone. And I said, I have been doing exactly this for last 20 years. So that means CISSP is a good thing for me. And let me tell you, and that is now CISSP is exploded, and now me and some few more trainers are, the uh, I will say eminent faces on social media that who train publicly for CISSP, right? Uh, 2 or 3 people who publicly train for CISSP. I can count few: Prab, myself, Manoj, right? Uh, so these are the 3 names which I immediately, encounter when CISSP training comes. So what I'm trying to say, now it has exploded, and now everybody wants to get a CISSP. But there was a time when, for me, I had to assess, right? So once I assessed, then I realized that CISSP. But now I feel that having ISO 20, understanding frameworks, NIST CSF 2.0, PCI DSS, ISO 27000, one of the most important framework to understand today is ISO 27001. because it gives you a very simple way of implementing information security controls in your organization,
Yes, yes, yes.
right? And coupled with them, if you can create a GRC process around it, like what you have done, ISO 27001, I was trying to create a GRC process with CISSP, but I saw that CISSP was too complex certification to couple with GRC. What actually couples with GRC well is ISO 27001 and NIST CSF 2.0. These two
100%.
frameworks
100%.
gel very well if you want to create a GRC process.
100%.
And top them with the risk management frameworks, ISO 31000, ISO 27005, and NIST SP 837. Now these words
Then you are
might
gold.
sound,
Then you are gold.
then you
Yeah,
are
yeah,
good. So,
yeah.
this might sound like too technical, but if you open these documents, you find, oh, I have been doing this, right? And need to create a process around it. So, I feel that orientation is what is missing, and those who are interested, I do guide them. And there are a lot of people who are working pretty well in good companies, Wells Fargo, Tech Mahindra, okay, very good companies. In fact, few have gone abroad also, right? So yes, this is the
Yeah. Now I'll ask a twofold question. So, as
Mujahid. Mujahid, let
okay,
me tell
yeah,
you. Okay,
sure.
just because you are a CISSP does not mean, because CISSP is not preparing for you for cybersecurity roles. Please understand that. I can be a good network troubleshooter, good network security administrator, and then I do a CISSP, I am a star. But because I have done CISSP does not validate that I can log into the switch or a router or can map the VLAN to the VRF. Okay, you may not. So if you have come in from scratch up and then you get a CISSP, it's much better.
Yeah,
And rather than doing a CISSP and then trying to find a technical role, you will fail badly.
right, right. So, sir, twofold question basically. I saw the Hall of Fame. A lot of people passing in the last year batch as well and this year as well. Firstly, how many of these percentage is from the armed forces that you are actually teaching? And
I'll say almost
secondly,
25, almost 20. Firstly, one thing, all armed
yeah,
forces people who have trained with me have passed. That is one thing.
wow,
Whether
wow,
it is from the signals, whether they are from infantry, whether they are from RT, they've passed. Right?
wow. That's good.
Recently, two people have passed. One is Pankaj, who is from EME, uh, KV Singh, who is from I think MEC or EME. And there's one more guy who prepared himself, Benjamin, who is from infantry, right?
Okay, okay. And second question is, why is the success rate so high? Like, do you give some tips or tricks? Because I think there is no tips or tricks to
No,
this exam,
no,
right?
no, no. What I do is I train for very long. To be frank, okay, I do not do. I understand this exam requires preparation. So what I do is I help you with preparation. I do not do that 5 day boot camps. I could have taken it as a business. I don't take it as a business. I take it as a weekend batch. Okay, so that people are at rest. This exam needs a cool mind. Okay, this exam needs a long preparation. This exam cannot be done in 10 days, 20 days. If you're very experienced, right, you can do it. I'm not saying that. But if you are someone, who just doesn't know, hasn't been in this, race, then you have to orient. Once you orient, you have to observe, orient. I always say, observe, what is it? Then orient, okay, what do I do have to do? Then decide that when do I need to give the exam? And then if you have decided that I need to give the exam 100 days from now prepare. And I follow that approach. And if you see, most of the people have passed within 90 days to 120 days, most of the people. And you have to keep a short target. I'm not saying you prepare with me, you can prepare yourself. Go on YouTube, there are so many people. In fact, I have my own CISSP first batch which I took. Okay, I put it on YouTube, and there are a lot of people who have seen those videos and passed. There's a guy called Vineet, right? It was a 60-hour class. Now this guy goes on YouTube, find my classes, does the entire course, comes on LinkedIn and says, "Hey sir, I passed because I saw your YouTube video." That's great, man. And he wrote a beautiful 4 page how to prepare for CISSP and says my course was a gold mine. So if you are dedicated, you don't have to come and do training. You can just go to YouTube and train yourself and get it done. I learned AWS completely from AWS documentation.
Wow.
So
So
today
very good insight.
education,
Yeah,
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 today education is free, I will say. You
yeah.
just have to have the time and the will.
Very good insight for somebody who is trying to, spend a lot of money on SSP guys. You already have a lot of free resources like NASA just mentioned. So make sure that you get the most out of them, right?
No, Love, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How can your course or your methodology help our transitioning community? What is it that you do? People should know.
Definitely.
You know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
people say marketing does not work. Why marketing? Marketing has to work. If I
Yeah.
don't speak, you will not come to know.
Definitely. Definitely.
If my speaking helps only, if even if one person, more than enough, man.
Yeah.
So Love, what is it that you do? And you have some good YouTube fan following, and what is it that do? And and a lot of people have said, come and said that, sir, Love is one hell of a trainer, and
Yeah.
what he tells is something which, and I've seen your documentation, Love, to be frank. When I was doing my implementations, and you know, ISO 27001, nobody tells you how to implement it, right? You can implement it the way you want, right? But I've seen
Right.
your documentation. Okay, I've seen the templates you have made, and I must say that they are very, very nicely done up, because we are implementing ISO for our own company, right?
Yeah.
Which you are part of. You are leading that effort. So I found that you have some depth of knowledge in that. Can you give me your background, from where you come in, and why now you are one of the leading experts in implementing frameworks and
Yeah.
compliances?
Definitely, definitely, sir. So, first thing is a lot of experience, I would say, definitely adding to this because, as I said previously, also I started 2016, 17, long back, when this was not so much of a lot of popularity was not there around as in 2001. So, I actually look for something which is common across the globe. This one standard found out very unique to me. So then I thought that I'll invest a lot of time and effort to make sure that I'm actually trained in one particular aspect of things. It's like Mike Tyson, you actually practice one move 700 times. It's like that. So I actually practice a lot on this particular standard. I devoted a lot of time, I'll be honest with you. I devoted a lot of days, I would say years also. Like I did devote a lot of, I think, 5 to 8 years in the last. I was completely focused on this one only. Okay, what are the challenges, what are the pitfalls, what if somebody is new, how can this standard help you start your journey in information security. So everything I actually devoted a lot of time and effort. That's the reason, that's the first reason. Second thing is, while implementation, I understand the pitfalls. What happens when you implement clause 4.1, what will be the issue when you will be implementing 4.2, how 4.1 and 4.2 will combinedly help you in defining the scope. Everything comes from experience, because right now if you give this standard to anybody new, he or she will not be able to understand anything. What is he or she will say is gibberish, because absolutely it's like that. It's not easy for somebody new. So that's why it took a lot of time and effort, and definitely I kept myself motivated throughout the journey. And now, yeah, by God's grace, I'm able to help students get that level of understanding which they are getting. And definitely my only the thing which is unique about the training is that I don't teach theory. I'll explain you about the clause. I will have a good discussion. Discussion can go on for 2 hours, also for 4 hours, also. I don't care. I never look at the clock while teaching. That is the first thing that I do. I never look at the clock. Definitely, we have breaks because those are necessary. But apart from the breaks, I never look at the clock. And no matter how many questions people have, one session we had around 2.5 hours of questioning only, which is completely fine because people are here to clear their doubts. Okay, that's why they are here. They're not for learning theory. So we clear the doubts. We have a good discussion, healthy discussion, and we understand different case scenarios in this discussion. Okay, if this is the company, this will happen. This is the company, this will happen. And after this discussion, then we go on practical side of things. Okay, now let's implement. So we have 4 to 5 case studies of different companies. We have tech company, we have healthcare company, we have a manufacturing company, we have a car company, we have different sectors altogether. So then now we implement on all these sectors. So it's entirely different ball game altogether, sir. Nobody has actually attended that sort of training. First time when people do these exercises, they are so much of their enthused levels are so high that they say that this is brilliant actually. So that's what they say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was also trying something like that, but due to time constraints, I could not build it.
yeah.
And good that
Time is a
I,
challenge. Time is a
yeah,
challenge.
time is the only
Time is a
finite
challenge.
thing you have.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
infinite, so you have to manage
yeah.
that. So
Time is a challenge.
good love. Thanks for that insight. And I feel that certain certifications and certain frameworks can help the armed forces community in navigating into information security and GRC roles. Uh, Amongst them, the prominent ones I can tell them, like one is Certified Information Security Manager, definitely. Second is Certified Information Systems Auditor, CISA. ISO 27001 lead implementer. Now this is I definitely tell everyone that if you're doing want to do an implementation, you're spending the money going to the reputed companies. I can vouch that we have the best ISO 27001 implementation program. Right? I'm not pitching that you come and do it with us, but I'm saying I have done my ISO 27001 from BSI with some very good instructors. Okay, and I've seen your program, and I can vouch that we have more practical stuff than theoretical stuff which is taught everywhere else, because most of the trainers do not have hands-on implementation experience, which is not our platform. Our platform is firstly community driven. Our platform is hands-on driven. We are the guys who have worked. Okay, we're the guys who have created for Mujahid's doubt. Okay, I have deployed 2650 Nortel and PLS switches. So we understand the tech side of it. We also understand the management side of it. So I feel CISM, CISA, ISO 27001, NIST CSF 2.0, NIST SP 837, ISO 22301, and ultimately the gold standard CISSP. Okay, if you have 2 to 3 years and you want to navigate into information security as your space you would like to navigate into, get these certifications once you are say 1 to 2 years away from your retirement, or your once your contract gets over, or once you are superannuating from the armed forces. That's what my recommendation is. And uh, and, and that's why, love, I think we have a lot of traction, because at one side we are giving the certifications, okay, and on the other side we're giving the frameworks, right? So certifications, we are focused only on the key certifications which are in demand in industry. Okay, CISM, CISA, CISSP, CCSP. Okay, and on the other side we have the GRC and ISO 27001. We are also coming up with ISO 27001 lead auditor, and then we are also coming up with business continuity and disaster recovery certification, that is 22301. And today privacy is something which is slowly climbing up. Privacy becomes a very very important framework for implementation. Recently we had a lot of calls we had where the client says, can you get us DPDP ready? We are worried. What is DPDP? So I
Yes.
also see privacy management as one of the frameworks which infosec professionals should understand.
Right. Right. Right, sir.
So I
Great.
think we're done for the day.
Yeah.
Somebody said, please discuss latest threats and vulnerabilities weekly. Okay, we'll try one day. We will try to dedicate one day to the latest threats and vulnerabilities. Right, love? We will see
Yeah.
that. We'll
Definitely.
see to that. Right, right.
Definitely.
We'll
Yeah.
do that also, so that you keep
Yeah.
an oversight on what are the latest developing threats and the vulnerabilities which you need to keep your eye on. We'll do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, then let's call it a day. Then I hope this podcast helps the armed forces community or anyone else who would like to
100%.
navigate into information security.
100%, sir.
It's
100%.
generic, to be frank.
Yeah.
There's not much insight available into the life of armed forces people other than those who serve in there. So I
Yeah.
feel that it's beneficial for anyone who is trying to migrate. There are a lot of tech people who want to migrate into information security, and they have
Definitely.
the same question.
Definitely.
They have the same questions which any other armed forces personnel has for me.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody from marketing also joined me, just 2 months back. These people were from marketing for last 8 years. Never knew anything about technology and all, but now they are placed in good companies after attending the courses and all. So definitely, if there's a urge to learn, they will definitely learn.
True, true, true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Nice to have you today. Thank you for your time.
Right. 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 Okay. Right. Thank you. Thank you, love. Thanks for the session. And then we will continue tomorrow. Right.
Sure.
Great day, guys, and take care.